We have the Friday Lightning Round, and here we are. And the big story, Keystone XL pipeline, the State Department coming out with an environmental study saying essentially that it's environmentally sound, but it is not approving the project going forward. That has to do, that is falling to the president, and we don't have word that that has happened as of yet. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce put out a statement saying, quote, the environmental impact statement released today is long overdue, continues to build a strong case supporting the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline. It will create thousands of jobs and generate millions in revenue for state, local governments that badly need them. The Sierra Club, you wouldn't be surprised, had a different take. They're outraged by the State Department's deeply flawed analysis today. Whether this failure was willful or accidental, this report is nothing short of malpractice. President Obama said that he's committed to fighting the climate crisis. If that's true, he should throw the State Department's report away and reject the dirty and dangerous Keystone XL pipeline. We're back with the panel. We'll start there. Steve.
Yeah, the problem is all of these right-wing, oil types in the State Department who just ride roughshod over environmental concerns. Look, this is the fourth iteration of this. We've been through this before, and despite all of the outside pressure, despite all of the lobbying from environmental groups, there still isn't a major problem with the Keystone pipeline environmentally. I think this makes it much more difficult for the president to reject it. He does ultimately have the final say. He's the only one who can make the determination as to whether this is in the national interest or not. And I think it increases the likelihood that he'll approve it, although I would never be surprised if he didn't.
Kirsten.
I'd be surprised if he didn't. I think that he'll throw the environmental people under the bus for jobs and unions. And, the AFL-CIO has basically come out in support of this because of the jobs. And I think he probably just kicked this down the road until after the election. But I don't think there's any substantive reason to oppose it. The climate change argument really doesn't work here because the gas is going to be, the oil is going to be extracted and it's going to be refined somewhere.
China,
so it's not really, it doesn't really have any, we can't really change that impact on it. We buy a lot of our gas from Canada, so it's a pretty weak argument, and politically I don't think it's in Obama's interest to agree with them.
Charles.
I agree. The State Department attempted it as a punt, but it completely undermines the main arguments against XL, the main argument. And it said, the report said, it's not going to have any effect on climate because essentially Canada is not going to leave it in the ground. So it doesn't end up here, it'll end up in China. So refusing it has zero effect on climate, and that completely undermines any opposition argument.
Secretary Kerry on his trip in Turkey today, reacting to the Prime Minister in Turkey, saying this, Prime Minister Erdogan, quote, just as with Zionism, anti-Semitism, and fascism, it has become impossible not to see Islamophobia as a crime against humanity. Here's what Secretary Kerry said about that.
We found it objectionable. But that said, Turkey and Israel are both vital allies of the United States. It is essential that both Turkey and Israel find a way to take steps in order to bring about or to rekindle their historic cooperation. I think that's possible, but obviously we have to get beyond the kind of rhetoric that we've just seen recently.
Charles.
I'm glad that the Secretary of State said that, because his boss, the president, has extremely close relations with precisely the man who said that obscene attack on Zionism. And it said that Erdogan is Obama's closest friend, if you like, or at least relationship among the leaders in the world. And I think it's disgraceful the way he's apologized or overlooked what Turkey has done internally in curbing the press. There are more journalists in jail in Turkey than anywhere, and the way he's sort of overlooked its relations, its poisoned relations with Israel.
Winner and loser. Winner first.
Well, I'll go with my loser first, is Bob Woodward, I think, was a loser this week for basically really exaggerating, if not lying, about the White House threatening him, and then the emails were released, and it was quite clear that that's not what happened. For winner, I would say the fight for gay marriage had a real step forward because of the amicus brief that was filed by a lot of leading conservatives.
Okay, loser first.
Loser first. My loser is Graham Zielinski, who's the official spokesman for the Wisconsin Democratic Party, who today compared Governor Scott Walker to Jeffrey Dahmer, the serial killer. My winner is you, Bret Baier, and the show, and the staff, for 50 months atop the ratings.
Oh, wow. Picture, too.
Since coming. So, big congratulations.
Thank you, Steve.
Nicely done.
You get double winner and loser time next time. Sorry,
Yeah.
Erdogan took up all your time.
Well, after that, how do I top what he said and still remain on the show?
Yeah, you might be the loser this week. That's it for the panel. But stay tuned for a new spin on a familiar story.